most creature movies pick a lane. Either the monster is something summoned from outside, or it is something that used to be human. The films on this list refuse to choose. They built their horror out of the space in between, a body that is still partly itself, a mind that is still partly aware. Warm bodies. Most zombie films end when the infection wins. This one asks what happens if it starts, very slowly, to lose. Jonathan Levine's 2013 film follows R, a zombie with just enough consciousness left to narrate his own decay, who saves a living girl during an attack and finds that protecting her begins, somehow, to bring him back to life. The premise sounds like a gimmick. The execution treats infection as a metaphor for emotional numbness and lets a genre built on decay tell a story about reversal instead. 80% on Rotten Tomatoes for a film critics called far smarter and sadder than its marketing led on. The hybrid state here is not permanent. That is what makes it interesting. Splice, some monsters are found. This one was built on purpose by two scientists who should have known better. Vincenzo Natali's 2009 film follows genetic researchers Clive and Elsa as they splice human DNA into an experimental organism against every rule of their lab and end up raising the resulting hybrid, part animal, part human, entirely unpredictable, as something between a pet, a child, and a mistake they cannot undo. The creature, named Drin, grows faster than anyone expects, and the film's horror comes less from what she is than from what her creators are willing to justify to keep studying her. 75% on Rotten Tomatoes for a film critics praised as one of the few creature features actually interested in the ethics of creating a monster rather than just the fallout of fighting one. An American werewolf in London. This film understood something most werewolf movies miss. That becoming a monster should hurt, and that the person trapped inside deserves to be genuinely funny even while it is happening. John Landis's 1981 film follows David, an American backpacker attacked on the English moors, who survives the attack only to discover the curse did not die with the animal that bit him. The transformation sequence, built entirely with practical effects, remains one of the most technically astonishing moments in horror history. Bones stretching, skin rippling, a human body pulled apart and rebuilt into something else in real time, without a single cutaway. 89% on Rotten Tomatoes, for a film critics still cite as proof that body horror and genuine comedy were never actually opposites. Videodrome. David Cronenberg did not simply direct this film. He seemed to diagnose an entire decade's relationship with television and find something monstrous growing underneath it. The 1983 film follows Max Wren, a sleazy cable programmer who discovers a broadcast signal called Videodrome that begins physically altering the people who watch it, opening cavities in their bodies, blurring the line between flesh and technology until neither one is fully trustworthy anymore. The hybrid creature at the center of this film is not one body. It is an entire species being rewritten by what it consumes. 84% on Rotten Tomatoes for a film critics now treat as prophecy rather than horror. Long live the new flesh. The fly few transformations in cinema are more devastating than watching someone you love turn, slowly and irreversibly, into something else entirely, while still being fully aware of what they are losing. Cronenberg's 1986 remake follows Seth Brundle, a brilliant and reckless scientist whose teleportation experiment accidentally splices his DNA with a housefly that snuck into the pod with him. Jeff Goldblum plays the transformation not as a sudden monster reveal, but as a disease with stages: strength, then obsession, then decay, then something that can no longer be called human by any definition that matters. Gina Davis, watching the man she loves disappear, one piece at a time, carries the film's real horror. 92% on Rotten Tomatoes for what critics widely consider the finest body horror film ever made, and one of the most tragic monster movies in the genre's history.